All right, guys, we're going to be talking about the City Skylines 2 settings. I'm going to be going over the settings I use on simple settings, and I am taking a all or nothing approach. It's basically we keep it on high settings or either disabled or low because there's no way to disable it. So some of these features I want to keep on high just because it looks better that way, like texture and animation quality, things like terrain quality, right? And some of the things I kept on high because they actually have little to no impact on the game performance. So let's go over some of the settings now. I am using 75 hertz because that's the refresh rate on my monitor. 1920 1080p. You want to have it on full screen windowed. You might have to do this on the launcher. You want to turn off free VSync, and then I have my game cursor on free. I don't use the side dragging to move my camera, so I have that on free. Depth of field, this was actually recommended by the PC Gamer website to have depth of field off. There's this actually appears twice because it's actually down here as well. Depth of field quality and depth of field mode. I have both of them disabled. And then on the global graphics quality, I actually had it set to high, and then I customized everything else. Now from here, let's go down. Dynamic resolution. This basically scales up or down your quality of the textures depending on how your graphics card's running. I have it disabled because I don't want it fluctuating and looking bad. But if you're running a lower card, you might actually want this on automatic so that it will adjust the frame rate to lower the quality so that you could play a little bit smoother. Anti-aliasing. This had very minimum impact. I'm keeping it on high. This is actually better than low. I actually had my GPU work a little bit harder, having it on low settings, and having on high SMAA was it's going to be the best looking, and at the same time, it's actually very little impact. Clouds have very little impact as well. It's about 2 to 4%, depending on your settings. And for the most part, I have it disabled because I'm looking down most of the time. I don't like the clouds, shadows hovering everywhere, so I just have that disabled. Fog is the same thing. This is very little impact. I keep it on just for a little bit of immersion, but this is about 2% impact. Volumetrics quality, this was recommended to be disabled. Ambient occlusion. This is lighting and shading on certain objects so that they stand out more. As of right now, this has very little impact for my game. I am at around 20,000 pop. My GPU is a 360 Ti, 3060 Ti, and it's really not that bad. So I keep this on high. This setting, global illumination, is very heavy. Me turning this down from high to disabled has made the biggest impact on my graphics card. We'll go over how this performs on my setup later at the very end, but this has been the most impactful setting. Having this on disabled versus high, I gained about 20% strain reduced. So my graphics card would basically go from 95% usage to 75, and that's really strong. So having that disabled is pretty recommended. Now the reflections, this is minimal impact. This is about 2%. I have it on high just because I like it. Depth of field motion blur was recommended to be disabled, so I didn't really get into that. Shadows are not that bad. This is about a 3 to 4% versus your normal 2% from all of the other settings. I have it on low. You keep it on high if you guys want to. I find that I have it on low is okay. You could disable this. I feel like I gotta have shadows though. Terrain quality, very little impact. I just keep it on high so it looks better. Water quality, this was not that bad. This was very little impact. I just have it on low because I don't really care for the water quality, to be honest. Level of detail, this is also another big impact setting. I actually found out that Colossal Order recommended to put it on very low, the developers of this game, so I have it on very low. The difference between high and very low is the same thing as turning disabled and high on global illumination. You get about a 20% pickup on your GPU. So it's a very recommended setting to have level of detail on very low. Animation and texture quality. This I have found to be not that bad. So we just keep it on high. For the most part, I'm leaving it on high because it looks better that way. I don't want the houses to look bad. So that is the recommended settings. Outside of that, there is this right here. I keep it on balance. I don't think that really matters, but we'll see in the future. Gameplay wise, you can turn off day night here. I turn off edge scrolling as well. You can also turn off tutorials here. Now, for the most part, I am running Skylines 2 on a i5 9600K, but I am overclocking that to a 5.2 gigahertz, and that is a 6-core CPU. I'm streaming while playing this game, and I'm having no problems. So I would get up to about 70% usage, around 20k pop, while streaming and playing this game. The biggest factor for this has been on the GPU. Now, before I get into that, I have about 32 gigs of RAM. I'm using half of that, and I haven't gone over that, not even once. So 16 gigs of RAM is probably okay. I'm at 32, and I'm using 15 gigs right now. That being said, I am also streaming. Now let's go to the GPU. This is very heavy on the GPU, even on the main menu. So it's recommended to turn down the settings. Now, the biggest thing with this is that even with this, the biggest thing that will make a difference to your gameplay experience is actually capping your frames. So although you could turn down the settings here and it's going to make it not as heavy on your graphics card, it's still likely to push your graphics card to 100% usage, which potentially has your graphics card overheating if you don't have cooling on it, and then it, potentially breaks or has a problem. So none of us want that. I recommend, if you guys don't know, you want to go to the NVIDIA control panel, turn on the control panel, go into Manage 3D Settings, and then click on the tab that says Application Control. Scroll down to the bottom where it says Max FPS, and then you're going to want to limit your FPS to either 30, 36. The devs required or recommended that 30 FPS is what they want. So you could just put it on 30 FPS that way. You could also limit it to another number of your liking. Of course, that's going to require a little bit of testing. But once you do that, you could play the game with a limited FPS, and then it's not going to be as strenuous on your graphics card anymore. And with that, you'll be able to play the game somewhat nicely. So this is how the game looks like for me. Right now, this is how everything looks like. Right, we got the street names, we got the textures of all the buildings, cars coming in. It is snowing right now. My graphics card at the moment is at about 80% usage, moving, going through the traffic like this, very zoomed in with the people on the ground. So it's being used, but it's not at max. So I'm happy that it's not being, cranked up to full power. That way we don't have, we have a little bit of leeway for when the population goes up. But yeah, GPU is sitting around, CPU is sitting around 75% right now. And to reiterate, my graphics card is a 3060 Ti that has 12 gigs DDR. And we are running a i5 9600K CPU, 32 gigs of RAM. And that is my setup. Hopefully that helps you guys out with the game settings. But we're able to run this and stream this with these settings. So I don't know about you guys. Sometimes you don't want to, sacrifice quality. And these settings seem to be the balancing point for me. Let me know if you guys have any questions down below. Let me know what settings that you guys have that you guys might be playing with that might be a little bit better. But we did a little bit of testing, and this is what works for me. Hope that helps you guys. This is your boy Too Legit. Y'all know what it is. We'll see you guys next time.